At the birthday party, my boyfriend casually peeled a shrimp for his ex-girlfriend. Everyone in the room gasped and looked at me. After a brief moment of stunned silence, I put down my chopsticks. As I clapped, I shouted, "Get together, get together." I also pushed people around me and said, "What are you waiting for? The atmosphere is like that. It wouldn't make sense for them not to kiss, right?" 01 On my 25th birthday, Dorian sent a message in the friend group, "Today is my baby's birthday. See you at the usual place at 6 p.m. Don't be late, everyone." I had just woken up when I received the message. Many friends in the group started to at me one after another. "Oh haha. You only said half of it. Are you trying to keep us in suspense? Damn, if they can't guess this, he's definitely going to do something big. Our Dorian is so impressive. He is taking the initiative to take the step towards marriage. He gave her a birthday gift and now he is going to give an engagement gift. Do I still have savings?" Dorian didn't respond to anyone again, nor did he send me a private message. Could he be preparing a surprise? I turned and sat down, staring at the screen and responding with a smiling dog emoji. I remembered that last month he asked me what kind of proposal ceremony I liked. He also hugged me and said that when we got married in the future, he would sing Eason Chan's "Never Leave You Alone" with me. At this moment, his eyes were smiling and his tone was full of tender affection that could not be dissolved. "Do you think that if I sing it, everyone will touch each other?" It seemed that it was not without any signs. I got up quickly, took a shower and put on makeup. If they were going to propose to me today, I had to be the most beautiful woman at the party. 02 When I arrived, most of my friends had already arrived. There was a pair of large angel wings placed at the entrance, embedded in an entire wall of roses. The decoration of the entire place could be said to be extremely luxurious. There was also a painting at the entrance. It was the view of a girl's back painted by Dorian. Everyone assumed it was me and cast envious glances. I have to say, Dorian really knows about romance. This decoration is even more spectacular than last year. I've been with Dorian for 2 years. It was also prepared for my birthday last year. Actually, I hadn't celebrated my birthdays with big celebrations before. At most, I only invited my close friends to eat and simply celebrated. But he seemed to have a strange obsession with throwing birthday parties. I remembered when I said I didn't need her, her eyes suddenly darkened. He squeezed my hand tightly and asked me if I didn't love him anymore. At that moment, thinking that this was my first birthday after being together and that he was so attentive, I nodded my head. Dorian picked me up and spun me around several times. He murmured in her ear, "Finally, I have given it to you." In fact, Dorian didn't make me regret it. Last year, there were margaritas all over the place. The language of daisies is the love hidden in the depths of the heart. It wasn't as extravagant as today, but it also gave me enough importance. There was also a painting at the entrance last year. It was the profile of a girl. It coincided with today. I have prepared a drone. If we propose on the rooftop, I can guarantee a more complete recording. While everyone was talking about this topic, Dorian arrived late, and there was a girl behind him. The lively room instantly became silent. Cyril, Dorian's childhood friend who was nearby, exclaimed, "Damn it." I looked around the room. From their expressions, I could tell that they knew this girl. Dorian found a place to sit, not next to me. From the beginning to the end, his eyes did not stop on me for even a second. The girl followed him and sat next to him. Then he greeted everyone generously, "Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again." No one answered her and the atmosphere suddenly became very awkward. The girl looked at me over everyone's view, extended her hand and said, "Hello, I'm Luna. You're Arya, right? I have heard Dorian mention you." Dorian? Such an affectionate way to call him. I swallowed that bit of discomfort and shook his hand. "Hello. Welcome to my birthday party. Have a good time." However, she showed an indescribable smile and sat down calmly. But I clearly heard him whisper thank you to Dorian, and he lowered his head to fix the hem of her skirt, looking like a scene of quiet time. I didn't know what that thank you meant, but from Dorian's actions, I could tell that this girl was more important than me, his official girlfriend. 03 During that time, to alleviate the embarrassment, everyone started drinking and chatting. Someone who had had too much to drink stood up, overcome with alcohol, and shouted at Dorian, "What the hell do you mean? You invited us to celebrate your baby's birthday. What baby? What baby?" I suddenly remembered that in the 2 years we had been in a relationship, Dorian had never called me baby. He liked to call me Ting Ting. Sometimes he would say while calling me, "It would be good if you were always obedient." I just smiled and hit him, telling him to stop aim. He stubbed out his cigarette, hugged me tightly, and said in an affectionate tone, "I will always love you if you stay like this." With the message he sent in the group today and it being my birthday again, I just assumed he was referring to me. I quickly took out my phone and found the group chat logs from last year. It also began with this phrase, "Today is my baby's birthday." So who was the baby? I looked up and met Luna's gaze. She still looked calm and composed. It seemed like she was the hero of this party. The boy was pulled by the people around him and sat down. Dorian was sitting lazily in the corner, leisurely peeling shrimp. Hearing the boy's words, he raised his eyelids and said casually, "Which one do you think it is?" He did not directly answer the question, but this ambiguous rhetorical question seemed to be an answer in itself. His expression, bearing and protective attitude confirmed his relationship with Luna. Was she the person he loved but couldn't have? Or his ex-girlfriend? While I was distracted, I saw him casually put the freshly peeled shrimp on Luna's plate. Everyone in the room gasped and looked at me. After a brief moment of stunned silence, I put down my chopsticks. As I clapped, I shouted, "Get together, get together." I also pushed people around me and said, "What are you waiting for? The atmosphere is already like that. It wouldn't make sense for them not to kiss, right?" 04 Cyril, who was sitting next to me, frowned and was about to get up to intercede, but Luna got up first. He took on a controlling tone, took the shrimp from his plate with chopsticks and put it on my plate, and also said with an apologetic smile, "Dorian hasn't thought well. Don't blame him. How clever she was." With a simple action and a short sentence, he completely absolved himself. It seemed like I was the one who was being excessive. Dorian dried his hands with a wet towel, pulled Luna to sit down, and looked at me with an indescribable coldness in his tone. "Arya, why are you angry?" Why was I angry? My boyfriend, who I had been with for 2 years, brought another girl to my birthday party and even peeled shrimp for her. Not only did I not throw the plate at the time, nor ask out loud who it was, but, on the contrary, he said that I was getting angry for no reason? My nails dug deep into my palms. I forced back the bitterness in my nose, controlled my trembling voice, and forced a smile. "Since I have affected Mr. Jo's mood, I will leave first. When I grabbed my bag and was about to turn around, Dorian suppressed his anger and yelled at me, "Sit down." 05 Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Luna tugging at her sleeve. "Arya, Dorian is like a little brother to me. I just returned from another city. He was worried that I would be bored, so he said he would bring me here to have fun. I should be the one who leaves. Don't be angry with each other because of me. Dorian, today is Arya's birthday. Don't be such a child. Give in to her." However, Dorian grabbed her wrist instead, frowning. "Today is also your birthday. The cord in my heart broke completely. So that was it. Everything was explained. This birthday party wasn't planned for me at all, but for her. Those great paintings were not of me, but of her. Only I was like a joke, thinking that all of these were surprises prepared for me. Thinking that today Dorian would propose to me in front of everyone. I suddenly remembered the first time we met. I lost my ID. Dorian picked it up and was surprised to see my birthday. He asked me tremblingly if the date was real. At the time, it seemed very strange to me. If it wasn't real, could it be fake? Originally, it was just a bulletproof date to please our parents, but I didn't expect Dorian to start appearing frequently in my life after that. He courted me passionately. He even bought iconic buildings around the city and played the words that I liked him on a loop. Naturally, this became a popular topic in our circle. Everyone said that Dorian, the young man in the family who had always been indifferent to women, had finally fallen. I remembered when I agreed to be his girlfriend, he hugged me and said he would make up for everything he hadn't given me before. I thought he meant all the birthdays and all the anniversaries. All the fragments of memories combined to form a complete story. Now that I think about it, everything had clues to follow. Only I was too slow. A tear fell, but I quickly wiped it away with my hand. I really wanted to throw a glass of wine in Dorian's face and curse him. I really wanted to destroy all the decorations here and announce to the entire world that I, Arya, will never be a substitute for anyone. But, unexpectedly, she was very calm. I heard my own voice as if it were coming from a faraway place. "Dorian, we are breaking up. It was not a question or a negotiation. It was a notification." When I walked towards the door, I finally heard Dorian's trembling voice. He said, "I don't agree. Section 06 However, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds passed, and he still didn't follow me. Suddenly, the scene of our first date appeared in my mind. He was holding flowers, looking as helpless as a child who had never experienced anything like this. That day, he accompanied me to watch a movie. At the end of the movie, there was a sentence, "I hope the person you love is the one who is by your side." Seeing this, Dorian suddenly squeezed my hand tightly and looked at me with fiery eyes. He said, "Arya, can you always be by my side?" His eyes were full of tenderness and deep affection. I thought he really loved me, so he asked me to make that promise. And now, thinking about it carefully, it was because there was a girl who had left him in the long river of his life. Last year's big margarita party was just an excuse to celebrate my birthday, while expressing his love to the girl who was most important in his heart. The love hidden deep in your heart. Finally, it was told to the world in my name. So, ultimately, I was just his distraction when he felt empty. Fortunately, I still maintained my education and dignity and gathered all my strength to say goodbye. However, I still felt upset. 07 When I went out, I received a message from Cyril. This matter is very complicated. Do you still want to know about it? I replied, no. Since everything is already finished, there is no need to know about those things. But anyway, thank you. Whether it was difficulties or hidden circumstances, he no longer wanted to know anything about Dorian. As I looked down to reply to the message, I didn't notice and bumped into someone. Just when I was about to fall, I was held firmly. I gripped my phone tightly and looked up in surprise. A man in a baseball cap and a black mask looked down at me, but before I could stand at attention, it seemed like someone was chasing us from not far away. Before I could react, he grabbed my hand and started running. He seemed to be very familiar with this place. We walked around several times, entered the elevator and went directly to the roof. When we finally stopped, I was already breathless with exhaustion. He took off his mask. That familiar face was revealed. I was stunned. He slightly curled his lips. A long time ago, old fellow. What? You don't recognize me? Asher. It was Asher. The most popular singer in the entertainment industry. Back in college, he wrote many songs that were widely sung. In 7 years, he reached the highest position in the industry. However, we hadn't been in touch since we graduated high school. What a coincidence. Why are you here? Looking for inspiration. He blinked at me. The new album is only missing the lyrics of the last title song. It's such a small world. We were deskmates in high school. But in my memory, I only remembered that every composition I wrote could be praised by the teacher. On top of that, my memories of high school were just endless homework and countless tutoring classes. The school we attended was a private one, and generally, children from wealthy families went there. At that time, I heard that the principal recruited Asher from another school, waived 3 years of tuition, and gave him a full scholarship. In my impression, Asher didn't seem to like talking much. After graduating, we went our own ways. He had become a popular singer, but I didn't expect that he would still remind me of his old partner. I didn't really understand how creative singers found inspiration. But at that time, I was too busy with my own affairs, so I planned to say goodbye. However, unexpectedly, I heard Dorian's voice from afar. With no way to back out, I had to grab Asher and hide in a nearby corner. 08 It was Cyril's voice. Damn, I really don't understand why you brought her here. Dorian took a drag on his cigarette and frowned. Cyril, watch your tone. She's my sister. Cyril growled coldly. Sister? Dorian, don't think I don't know what happened between you two before. Seeing that Dorian didn't say anything, Cyril continued, she's just an adopted daughter. Just because you two had feelings that shouldn't have existed, your mother sent her away. Since he's been away for so many years, why did he come back? Shut up. Dorian stubbed out his cigarette and stepped on it. Cyril looked angry at her stubbornness. Your family has already paid what should be paid. I don't understand why you are doing what you are doing now. It cannot be paid in full. Dorian's voice was calm. If it could be paid so easily, it wouldn't have been like this. However, the car accident was not something you could control. Just because of that car accident, you haven't celebrated your birthday for so many years. Even for Luna's sake, it's enough. Dorian was silent for a moment and then sighed. Cyril, I can't live without her. And Arya? Was I wrong? Perhaps upon hearing my name, Dorian was stunned for a moment before replying, it's okay. Arya will be fine if I appease her. Cyril suddenly became very excited. Put her off? What do you think Arya is? Are you even human? Dorian interrupted impatiently, come on. It's the first time in so many years that I've celebrated my sister's birthday. Don't keep her waiting. Cyril sniffed disdainfully, sorry, she's not my friend. We all came here for Arya. If you want to be a good boy, go ahead. I'm not going to accompany you. After saying that, Cyril walked out decisively. Dorian hesitated for a moment and then followed him. Until the footsteps of the two of them completely disappeared, I leaned on the wall and could hardly stand up. Dorian had never celebrated his birthday. At that time, I thought it was because she had a good relationship with her mother and she was afraid that it was her mother's day of suffering, so she didn't celebrate it. It turned out that he didn't celebrate his birthday because of Luna. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Dorian. Ting ting, she is my sister. Don't be childish. Have you had enough of making a fuss? Come back when you're done. 09 I deleted all of Dorian's contacts. Unexpectedly, tears fell one by one on the screen. It was so blurry that I couldn't even see the words clearly. Cyril's message appeared. I'm not speaking for Dorian. I just think you should know the truth. Memories surfaced in my mind. It seemed like it was raining lightly that day. When I went to his house to look for him, he was not in a good mood. I thought it was because of the weather. I also learned from Cyril that his birthday was just a few days away, so I snuggled into his arms like a kitten. Dorian, I heard your birthday is coming up. What do you want? Your exclusive candy is online, open for a limited time. You can make a wish. However, he remained indifferent. Especially when he heard me mention his birthday, he suddenly became very irritable. Seeing that he didn't say anything, I tried to make him laugh. After looking at me for a while, he suddenly hugged me tightly. Arya, swear that you will never leave me. I was confused by his sudden reaction. But he was very persistent. Don't you want to? I shook my head. Why? He had something on his mind, but he didn't say it. But I wanted to know. He held my hand tightly and pressed me against his chest. The powerful sound of heartbeat came from his chest. Combined with Dorian's words, for a moment he couldn't tell if it was reality or a dream. Swear you won't leave me. His voice was deep, as if covered by a thin layer of fog. Even if you leave, you will only be gone for a short time and then you will come back. I don't want to celebrate my birthday. There are only bad memories. I only love you. He was so insistent that he made me repeat his words one by one. He even recorded them. I swore. But the person who broke the promise was the one I loved with all my heart back then. How ridiculous. For a moment, I felt like I had fallen into an endless ice cellar. It was clearly March, a time of spring, but I felt completely cold. Suddenly, a pair of slender hands appeared in front of me. I took the cloth Asher offered me and looked at him with teary eyes. He didn't say anything, just looked at me silently. However, no matter how much I dried, the tears came more and more. After a long while, Asher finally said, "Today is the birthday of the celebrated person. Don't cry." I smiled bitterly. I don't want to celebrate my birthday anymore. How unfortunate. He looked at the time on his watch. Fortunately, there is still time. What? There's still time to treat you to a bowl of longevity noodles. 10. It was in an alley near our high school. When the owner saw Asher arrive, he greeted him. Are you back? He seemed so familiar, as if they had been friends for many years. Then he looked at me next to me and smiled. Did you bring anyone? Asher just nodded and the owner smiled and left to prepare the ingredients. He took out a couple of papers to clean the stool for me. I hurriedly waved my hand. Okay. He still silently cleaned the stool and the table where I was going to sit. I felt quite uncomfortable and tried to keep the conversation going. Do you come here often? Yes. I came here often in high school. Later, I was very busy. I come here from time to time when I have time. I am not a very outgoing person. After saying this sentence, we fell into silence again. Although we were deskmates for 3 years, Asher and I were like two parallel lines that could never cross. He was a big star now, while I was useless, just a girl still waiting for her boyfriend to propose to her. Especially when he saw me in the shameful state of being discarded. Seeing that I didn't say anything, he poured me a glass of water. Do you do fashion design? I nodded. Yes. I do it just for fun. Before, when I was distracted in class, I would draw some sketches in my notebook. But how did he know? I'm going to give a concert here in 2 months. If it's convenient, can I invite you to do the costume design for me? Huh? Invite me? Perhaps seeing my confusion, Asher pushed the glass of water towards me, because the theme of the concert is Back to the Past. After all, we met in high school. So, that was the reason. I bit my lip. He smiled softly to comfort me. Don't be so unsure of yourself. I thought the designs you drew earlier were very pretty. Then, he actually saw them. I suddenly felt so embarrassed that I wanted to disappear. Those were just random drafts when I was distracted before. The most important thing is that I did them when I was distracted. I thought top students always focused on their studies. I didn't expect them to be doing 2 things at once. I didn't draw very well. It's your concert with thousands of people. What if I screw it up? People will criticize you, right? Okay. You are the most suitable person. Since he had said that, he would seem affected if I refused again. It was pretty cool to use work to distract my attention. I agree. But suddenly, I remembered that I didn't seem to have his contact details. This was really embarrassing. I had to take out my phone. Do you mind adding each other to contacts? Asher took his cell phone out of his pocket. I thought it was going to show the QR code, but the next second, my phone vibrated. A black avatar with no contact name sent a message. I'm here. The embarrassment increased. When did I add it? I didn't have the slightest idea. Since I don't like changing nicknames and I'm not in the habit of regularly cleaning up my contact list, I hadn't realized it was in my contacts. Just then, the noodles were ready and were served. I had to use the act of eating the noodles to hide this extremely uncomfortable atmosphere. In the early morning, there was basically no one in the noodle restaurant. The atmosphere was so quiet that it was almost artificial. After eating, I said goodbye to Asher, but he insisted on walking me home. After I got home, I opened his profile picture. However, I noticed that there was no post section at all. Could it be a secondary account? But just as I was about to leave, I saw his profile picture appear in the posts. I clicked on it. It was a photo of Moonlight. Her caption read, "Happy birthday. There is still time." When I clicked on the profile picture again, the posts appeared. So, was this your first post in the publications? I gave it a like. When I was about to go to bed, I saw a friend request. It was from Luna. I ignored her, but she was so persistent. I got angry and clicked to accept. Messages appeared quickly. If our relationship made you misunderstand, I can explain. However, I found it a bit funny. Why didn't you explain right then? Why did you have to come to me alone? I didn't answer. She sent another message. We are just brothers. It seems like he likes to use the tactic of going backwards to advance. At the party, she looked so calm, as if she were just a passenger and no one could find fault with her. But every word he said made me feel like I had a lump in my throat. If I got angry, he would confirm that I was narrow-minded and trying to embarrass Dorian in public. If I didn't get angry, I simply couldn't swallow this anger. When I said welcome to my birthday party, that bright smile of hers was just telling me that everything I thought was prepared for me was actually for her. Without her, there would not have been this party. And what's more, Dorian wouldn't have chosen me. I have to say, she is a clever woman. However, you underestimated me. I won't do anything that devalues me to a man. But in the next second, he sent me a photo. You are not here. He's drunk. If it's my fault, I'm sorry. In the photo, Dorian was lying on his lap, his eyebrows furrowed. I didn't know if he was asleep or drunk. Look how clever she is. Apparently, he was apologizing, but in reality, he was showing off. Showing herself as the person who accompanied him when he was saddest. He didn't mention love in any of his words, but every sentence was full of it. I found it really boring. Why did they have to drag me into this ditch of love and hate of theirs? Another voicemail appeared again. I clicked on it and it was Dorian's voice. Arya, why did you eliminate me? Don't you have family and friends? Don't you have brothers and sisters? Arya, don't go. The voice stopped abruptly here. I didn't know what was behind it, nor was I interested in knowing. You were the first to slap me in the face, embarrass me in public, and step on my sincerity. What are you playing now? Dorian, if the love you gave me is only the remains of others, then I would rather not have it and I will not humiliate myself. I responded, playing an actress is quite tiring. You two are excellent actors. Then I deleted it. However, he texted me. I taught him every first experience. Love will fade with the wind, but family affection will not. How disgusting. Doing such absurd things in the name of family members. I wrote a sentence. If you are really capable, why do you have to tell me these things? People often show what is missing in their hearts. Love will fade with the wind, but family affection will not. How disgusting. Doing such absurd things in the name of family members. Only in this way could he prove how popular he was under his influence. I took it back and sent a message. Oh, I wish your brotherly affection lasts forever. Then I blocked her. 12 The days passed. Because of the costume design work, I had more contact with Asher. It seems that he has rejected all his performances and is quietly preparing for the concert in our city. To help me find inspiration, he accompanied me to our high school campus and many other places. In truth, it is difficult for a star to break out. Each time, it has to be completely covered, only showing the eyes. I refused, saying it wasn't necessary and that I could handle it myself. But he said creation is a two-person affair. For example, many of his songs were inspired by real people and things. I was embarrassed, as I hadn't fully listened to Asher's songs, so I didn't feel comfortable expressing my opinions. So, it's the same logic. With me by your side, you will have room for imagination. Since he had said that, I could no longer refuse. That day, I said it was time to start work and suggested we go burn incense. But unexpectedly, I ran into Dorian here. From a distance, I saw him holding her bag. She was holding a large bouquet of incense in her hand and was about to put it into the censer. I don't know if it was too hot, but she removed her hand. Seeing this, Dorian grabbed her hand and blew on it gently with his lips. And she looked at him with a smile, flirting. I'm fine. Dorian was still worried. He frowned and held her hand as if it were a precious treasure. I have to be responsible for your safety. Perhaps sensing that someone was watching them, he turned his head and coincidentally our eyes met. Then, his smile disappeared. After a moment of surprise, he let go of Luna's hand and approached me. He still had a lady's bag on his back, which made him look quite ridiculous. Ting Ting, why are you here? It seems like he noticed the bag on his back and quickly hid his hand behind him, looking nervous. And when he noticed Asher's presence, his expression changed. Did you come with another man? Actually, I'm a little superstitious. Every time my studio received a new order, I came to the mountains to worship and seek some spiritual sustenance. I had mentioned this to Dorian before. He mocked me, saying it was futile superstition. I got flirty and asked him to come with me, but he made an excuse saying that men couldn't go to that kind of place, otherwise luck would change. I didn't mention it later. But now, how ironic. 13 Seeing that he had no intention of explaining, he got scared first. I'm alone, I'm just accompanying my sister. The words were on the tip of his tongue, but he couldn't say them. I told them for him, Dorian, this has nothing to do with me. I turned my head and nodded at Asher, planning to go somewhere else. But Dorian stopped me. Have you found a new love behind my back? His tone was full of accusations. I looked at him without saying anything. Then, he laughed at himself. Impossible. You love me so much. You even swore. Remembering that recording, I clenched my hands tightly. Dorian, we have already broken up. Please don't bother me anymore. Dorian was a little stunned. We are just brothers. You don't believe me? Seeing this, Asher walked over and shielded me behind him. So, I would like to ask, are your names in the same family record? Dorian's face turned pale. Luna approached him from behind, looking very generous. We just passed by here and came. Don't misunderstand. If you think you're bothering me, I'll leave first. Dorian, placate Arya. Well. Dorian looked at her and then at me and said in a deep voice, Arya, how long will you be upset? A second before he was still apologizing, as if he was sure that just saying I'm sorry would make me forgive him. Coupled with Luna's performance, it made him even more sure that there was nothing between them and that it seemed like I was deliberately insisting on this matter. I was about to speak when Asher answered for me. If they're just brothers, why do they keep emphasizing that? If they fear misunderstandings from others, why doesn't she know how to keep a distance? One or two misunderstandings make people think it's intentional. After hearing these words, Dorian was stunned for a moment, and Luna's expression froze on her face. I continued to reply, Miss Luna, after all, you taught Dorian every first experience. Then you should also teach him well how to be a qualified ex. This was said to both her and Dorian. As I turned to leave, Dorian grabbed my wrist. His eyes were red. Ting, don't go. Don't abandon me. I freed myself from his hand. Dorian, don't be so low. 14 When we were coming down the mountain, I apologized to Asher. After all, as my client, he was so misunderstood, and I really felt bad. Asher said he understood and told me not to think too much about it and just focus on my work. Remembering that recording, I still felt as disgusted as if I had eaten a fly. Maybe my emotions had been repressed. I opened my mouth and asked, do you believe in promises? He was stunned for a moment and then smiled weakly. If a promise is said out loud, it is no longer a promise. I was a little surprised. Life is so long. Some people just walk together for a while. If everyone could promise that their love would never disappear, there wouldn't be so many people in love in the world. I sighed. Lack of love is so painful. I feel like there is a crack in my heart. When I said this sentence, I covered my mouth again. How could I say these things to him? It seemed a little inappropriate. I was about to apologize, but Asher reached out and pulled me to the side near the mountain. He leaned down and said softly, only when there is a crack in the heart can sunlight enter. So, you could say like this. Asher, so optimistic. But then I thought it seemed like that in high school too. I felt like I had never changed. 15 A few days later, Cyril sent me a video. In the video, there were all kinds of paintings, large and small, in Dorian's studio. All the paintings were of me. And Dorian was like crazy, constantly repeating my name. It seemed like he finally realized that he wasn't joking. I had really broken up with him. Before Luna appeared, he could really be considered a qualified and even excellent boyfriend. I used to think that for families like ours, we would surely choose people from families of equal social and economic status to form new families in the future. We would then integrate the resources to maximize benefits, and the husband and wife would live their own lives without feelings. Until I met Dorian, I thought that if it were him, maybe it wouldn't be unacceptable. During the 2 years we were together, we were very happy. However, once there is a crack in a relationship, it can never be repaired. Luna is like a thorn. If it is not removed, it will prick my heart and make me feel uncomfortable. If it is removed, it will be a painful and difficult process, and I will still feel bad. I don't want to make a decision. So it's better to break up and get it over with. Arya, we only recognize you. Can you give him a chance to make up for it? I can tell he really loves you. But while he loves me, he also loves someone else. I turned off the video. I sent a message to Cyril. Life is not like buying a lottery ticket. There are not countless opportunities to start over. Dorian, this is as far as we've come. 16 I completely immersed myself in the design work, but unexpectedly, I received a call from Luna. On the other end of the voice call, he finally lowered his attitude. Please meet Dorian. However, I found it a bit funny. Isn't this the result she wanted to see? Sorry, I don't contact my exes. Just as I was about to hang up, his voice suddenly came. Is that my Ting? During this period of time, he had been calling me from several numbers, and I hung up on all of them. I really didn't want to get between the two of them and waste my energy on meaningless things. Soon, his voice was heard clearly. Ting, I love you. I love you. Could you please not leave me? You said you wouldn't leave me. I held the receiver and said calmly, Dorian, people change. I haven't changed. The 2 years with you were the happiest 2 years of my life. You can scold me or hit me, but don't abandon me, okay? Don't leave me alone again, okay? The word new made me feel a little physically uncomfortable, and we both knew who the previous person was. Don't come see me anymore. We must all look forward. When he was about to hang up, Luna's laugh carried a tone of sadness. Arya, you win. Over the next few days, Dorian even made our breakup a topic in front of our families. To maintain decency, I only told my parents that we were not right for each other, but Dorian's parents also came to persuade me. I really liked them before. It was from them that I finally got the full picture of the story. Point 17 I went to meet Dorian. He invited me to the amusement park, the place of our second date. Back then, when the Ferris wheel reached its highest point, he kissed me. But now, things have changed. Today it has been specially arranged. He has even shaved off the beard that was seen in the video, and it looks very clean. He has even rented the entire amusement park. When he saw me arrive, he gave me a bouquet of flowers. Actually, I don't like fresh flowers. They wither easily. But he didn't know that. The person who must like fresh flowers is Luna. I used to think that if families like ours were meant to have arranged marriages, at least it was okay if it didn't waste the person. Now, I can't even say if I disapprove or not. In just 2 months, a person's mood can change so much. Ting Ting, let's go ride the Ferris wheel. He deliberately avoided mentioning what had happened during this period of time, thinking that this way, it could be as if nothing had happened. But how could it be possible? Dorian's mother said that she only recognizes me as her daughter-in-law and that Luna could never enter the Dorian family. However, we both know that what is lost is truly lost. I just felt that Dorian was a little pitiful, being manipulated like a puppet doll for so many years. Luna is the daughter of the Dorian family driver. The parents of the Dorian family were busy and didn't have much time to accompany Dorian. On the night of his 12th birthday, he also did not wait for the company of his parents. Perhaps to let off some steam, he asked the driver to take the whole family to the amusement park with him. In reality, the amusement park had already closed at that time. It was that night when a car accident occurred. The 2 adults in the front seats died instantly, leaving behind 12-year-old Dorian and 15-year-old Luna. Dorian believed it was his fault. To compensate, the Dorian family adopted Luna. From that day on, Dorian never celebrated his birthday again, and due to the death of her parents, no one celebrated Luna's birthday either. I don't know exactly what happened during this period. At age 18, Luna and 15-year-old Dorian developed different feelings toward each other. The parents of the Dorian family realized it in time and then sent Luna abroad to study. Later, he stayed in another city. I don't know if they kept in touch during the years they were separated. During those 3 years in which they were together day and night and comforted each other, they were surely healing their wounds. One was the daughter of a driver and the other was the young man from a wealthy family. Coupled with parental disapproval, this made his feelings grow deeper and deeper. And since girls generally mature earlier, during the most important time for establishing values and life perspective, Luna surely instilled many ideas in Dorian, but it didn't matter anymore. Dorian is like a child who can't grow up, but I don't want to play the role of Luna and accompany him to grow up. Even if she really accompanied him growing up, so what? She fell in love with me and vacillated between her and me. I remembered what Dorian's mother said. Why did we send her away? It's because she's really sneaky and has a bad influence on Dorian. No, compared to love, hate lasts longer. Luna understood this better than I. 18, or let's go see the Ferris wheel, the place where we kissed for the first time. He mentioned it carefully, with a fawning expression in his eyes. Men are so short. When you treat them well, they take it for granted. When they can no longer control their emotions, they regret it. Today I am not here to remember the past. I'm here to say goodbye to the past. Some words must be said clearly face to face. Dorian, let go. I don't love you anymore. No, yes you do. I shook my head. I don't love you anymore. I don't want to lie to you. I also hope you can leave the past behind and look forward. Dorian doesn't really understand love. Perhaps it is also related to your youthful experiences. Ting Ting, don't leave me. I'm going to change. I'm not going to contact Luna anymore. I've already kicked her out. Dorian, the biggest problem between us is not Luna. I looked him in the eyes. It's your attitude, your wavering emotions. After a pause, I continued, Arya, want complete love. Even if there was a crack in that heart before, it has to be cleaned before inviting others. And he, on the one hand, couldn't bear to part with me, and on the other, he still felt remorse for Luna. His lips trembled, and he pointed to his heart. I have cleaned it. There is only you here. No, leave it for the next person. He reached out to touch my hand, but I dodged to the side. Dorian, when I was with you, I thought about marrying you. His eyes immediately turned red. I'm sorry, Ting Ting. Actually, she was calm inside. I even dressed up to look radiant at the birthday party just to accept your proposal. He grabbed his head in pain and stared at me. You said you would only be away for a while and then come back. Come back now, okay? I will use the rest of my life to make up for the harm I have caused you. I remembered what Asher said that day. I looked at him and smiled. Dorian, a promise only counts when the person stays until the end. Finally, tears slipped from the corners of her eyes. I have completely lost to you, right? I didn't say anything. Time will give us the answer. 19 Dorian never came back to look for me. I immersed myself in the final preparations. But the closer the start of the concert got, the more nervous I felt. Asher gently comforted me, don't worry. My fans are going to like what I like. Besides, they come to listen to my songs. Somehow, hearing his words, I always felt strangely calm. He seemed to have some kind of magic. When you are with him, you become more tender. Only he still hadn't finished designing the style of clothing Asher was going to wear for the last theme song of the concert. Since Asher said that since it hadn't been released yet, it had to be confidential, he let me design freely. But I really knew very little about Asher. Suddenly, I remembered what the owner of the noodle restaurant said that day. I went back there when it was about to close. The owner still recognized me. Did Asher not come today? I nodded and, seeing that there was no one else in the store, I asked him, did he used to come here often? Seeing that there was no one else, the chubby owner sat down to chat with me. Yes. Then he looked at me and smiled. I was waiting for you. Waiting for me? Looks like he hasn't won your heart yet. Huh? This is the street you should take to go home. Your family's chauffeur's car stops right at the entrance of my place, and you get into the car from here. Asher was waiting for you here. How do you know? The owner smiled. Every week without fail. How could I not know? I was stunned for a moment. Asher. Waiting for me? An immature idea formed in my mind. I asked tremblingly, is the date I came here 2 months ago the same date you also came here last year? The owner nodded. Was it your birthday? I came here every year and ordered 2 bowls of noodles. Only this year, I was finally not alone. The scene of meeting me at the hotel that day and his familiar appearance began to appear in my mind. So was he at the birthday party last year too? The owner said, you must be surprised. Why didn't you know about this for so long? When we were chatting before, I heard that you came from a wealthy family while he was a poor boy. He spent many years just so he could be on equal footing with you. Last year, when he came to eat noodles, he cried alone. He said he was planning to confess his love, but the girl he liked already had a boyfriend. I was petrified on the spot. He said that as long as you were happy, it would be fine even if he could only catch a glimpse of you from afar. Suddenly, I remembered a poem by Bien Gilin. You stand on the bridge to enjoy the view, while the one who is enjoying the view is looking at you from the bridge. The full moon adorns your window, and you adorn the dream from someone. So that day Asher posted a photo of the moonlight. Was it because I was his dream? 20 After returning from the small noodle restaurant, I ran to the storage room to look for my high school textbooks. After searching for a long time, I finally found those manuscripts in the physics book. Damn physics. I studied scientific subjects, and physics was my weakest subject. I once got a good grade of 27 points. When the exam paper was handed out, Asher took a look at it. I hurriedly extended my hand to cover it and turned it back. My face was buried under my arm, flushed with embarrassment. I remembered that Asher later showed me his notes and said I could ask him if there was anything I didn't understand. He also took my book and marked the key points. However, I was naturally not interested in physics, so I got distracted in every physics class. And those manuscripts Asher saw were basically drawn in class. There was a pile of papers, and I smoothed them out one by one. Asher was quite handsome as a teenager. When I drew before, I used it as a reference model. I found the papers that were a little yellowed. It seemed like nothing was different until I turned them back. I found that there was a formula in many of the drafts. 128980, I remembered that Asher had marked the key points in my physics book and that no one had lent my book. So, it must have been written by him. What did it mean? I took out my phone and opened the website to search. The first result showed, 128980 equals I love you. This is an abstract formula. You can get the result by erasing the top part. And on the back of each piece of paper, there was this phrase. So, Asher had a secret crush on me in high school. Only, he felt that there was a big gap between us, so he didn't dare to confess his love. What a fool he was. I'm not sensitive to numbers at all. How could I have noticed this formula? What a fool he was. How could he love someone for so long? I clutched the manuscripts tightly as tears ran down my face. 21 I dialed his number. I didn't say anything. After a while, he said, now you know everything? I covered my face and nodded silently. You don't have to feel obligated. Don't think I'm pitiful. I did all this voluntarily. You're so stupid. Why didn't you tell me? I'm so glad I got to meet you this year. But, I just broke up, and I'm not ready yet. You don't have to answer, he said. I don't want love to become a burden. I didn't know what to say. Were you there last year too? He laughed softly at the other end of the line. From 6 in the afternoon to 12 at night, for 6 hours, I walked from the first floor to the 32nd floor, floor by floor. The security guards don't know the number of floor tiles as well as I do. But what if I hadn't broken up? Asher was silent for a moment before saying, Arya, no matter who you end up with, I hope you can be happy. He was so gentle. I couldn't stop crying. It turned out that in this world, besides my parents, there really was someone who loved me without asking for anything in return. I listened to Asher's songs all night. Actually, I'm embarrassed to say that I'm an idiot for music. Although their songs were very popular throughout the country at the time, I had not listened to them carefully. I always thought we were from two different worlds, very far from each other. His first hit song was Sus Ojos. Her eyes, round and curved. I fell in love with her with just one look. There was also a song called Your Smile. I really want to hold your hand, but I'm afraid it won't be enough. How wonderful it would be if your smile belonged only to me. 22 and all these songs were performed at the concert the next day. Every time Asher sang a song, he looked at me. Until the end, he sat on a high stool, holding the microphone. The last song is the title track of the new album. It has not yet been announced to the public. There were bursts of applause throughout the venue. Asher put his hand to his mouth, shh. The fans were very obedient and fell silent again. I felt his gaze on me. I was immediately out of breath. Asher continued, this song, I want to sing for the girl I love the most. The melody began. He sang softly, through thousands of mountains and rivers, after 10 years. Finally, I have found the courage to tell you, a long time ago. After the song ended, Asher looked into my eyes as the melody was about to stop. The focus was on my face. I met his passionate gaze. I heard people say, Arya, this song is called Confession. He had spent 10 years walking towards me step by step. There was a trace of mine in each of his songs. I looked at Asher glowing on stage and couldn't help but feel my eyes turn acidic again. He approached me step by step from the stage. But I knew that every step I took now was the result of having spent 10 years to close the gap between us. It's not that he hadn't thought about confessing his love. I just felt like he wasn't worthy of me. That poor kid back then had become a top star now. It was I who was not worthy of him. What virtues and skills do I have that a boy thinks about me for so long? How did you endure those years of unrequited and bleak love? Had that, a long time ago, when we met on the roof also cost him all his strength? At this time, Asher had already come down from the stage, and there was a lot of noise around. He stood there, his eyes tender and affectionate, as if the air around him had become calm as well. Then he extended his hand, Arya, hello. My name is Asher. The him in front of me and the him as a teenager, their figures gradually intertwined. Suddenly, I remembered 10 years ago when we first became deskmates. The sun was shining brightly outside, the curtain billowed in the breeze, and there was laughter everywhere. I shook his hand and smiled, Asher, hi. My name is Arya,